Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. I think when a random Karen rings your doorbell, it promises to be interesting. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. But I'm the homeowner. This just happened, and I'm still a little confused. Bit of background. I, like most people in our neighborhood, have been working from home since COVID started. We have a townhouse, and there's another row of houses behind ours. I wear blue t-shirts because I like blue, and I'm on the spectrum, and mostly because I like blue. Anyway, I've had a bit of a work lull and have been stepping up my cleaning routine. I spent a solid hour on my knees today scrubbing the kitchen grout that turned out to be light beige, not dark brown. Who knew? About an hour ago, our doorbell rang. I answered and found random Karen on my front steps. Without any introduction, she started right in. Cast. Me is me. EB is Entitled B, aka Karen. SO is my husband. And SO, that she-devil's poor husband. EB, how much do you charge? Me. Pardon me? EB, how much do you charge? Me. Charge for what? EB, dramatic eye roll, equally dramatic sigh. Under their breath, they just let anyone in here. Unbelievable. In an overly loud tone and extra slowly, how much do you charge for your cleaning services? At this point, it dawned on me that she thought I was here cleaning. This is a bit odd. Our front drapes were closed all day, so the only way she would have seen me cleaning is if she was looking in our back second floor window. So, yeah, creepy. I'm not a fan of people who are rude. Doesn't matter if they think they're beneath you. There's no reason to be an a-hole. Me. Oh, I see. I don't charge to clean my house. Do you think I should send my husband an invoice? EB. Give me your husband's phone number. Clearly, I'll need to negotiate with him. Me. Oh, no need. He should be taking his lunch break soon. Let me go get him for you. At this point, I shut the door in her face. The high today was 28 and windy, so I can't imagine that she was comfortable standing out there, but at least she has some time to cool off. My husband was coming upstairs at this point and opened the door. EB, do you speak English? SO, yes, do you not? EB, this is America. We all speak English here. Your employee was very rude to me. I want to hire your cleaning services, but she will not be welcome in my home. Bring someone else. I'll need a full house cleaning tomorrow morning. I'll pay $80 if your staffer does a good job. At this point, EB stomped off, clearly convinced she was getting her house cleaned. I guess she told her husband because NSO came by 20 minutes later and profusely apologized. Apparently this had been discussed already, and she absolutely refused to believe that we live there. Have for more than 6 months now. He told her to leave us alone, but she was evidently determined. NSO, I told her you guys were the new neighbors. She just refused to believe me. She said you always wear blue uniform shirts and just couldn't be persuaded. I'm so sorry for the interruption. She sounds like she's got issues. That poor husband. And our second story. The contract said no. A few years ago, I worked for a large company. It was the time of year to fill out what holidays we wanted over Christmas and New Year. I'd worked there around 3 years at this point. I'm painstakingly going through this since the planning team could do with removing the stick up their butt. They follow each instruction to the letter, even if it's a typo or an obvious error of some kind. They've rejected emails that had capital letters in the subject. One member of the team could probably hold up a similar sub all to himself. But I digress. I log all the days I'd like and wait to hear back. Usually takes them months of planning, so I knew I'd have to wait a while. They come back to me and tell me I can't take the 2nd of January off. I'm a bit bummed, but not too bothered. Fair enough, I'll work it. The same day I found this out, my friend, let's call him A, comes up to my desk for a chat. Let's go for a smoke, he says, which is strange because A doesn't smoke, usually. We get outside, he looked over his contract, and it says the 2nd of January was a public holiday. He knew I'd been denied the day off, and since we started within a few months of each other, he suggested I check mine. There it is in black and white. January 2nd is a public holiday. I'm excited as now I can go ahead with the offer of spending New Year's with SO's family. But when I showed my manager this, she informed me it was a mistake and I'd need to work it. Even though it's in my contract? Yes. Even though you still have ample time to arrange cover? Yes. She didn't have an answer as to why this mistake was there for 3 years without anyone mentioning it before. Newer contracts didn't show the 2nd as a holiday, so someone noticed this and changed it without telling anyone. Now there were 3 of us affected by this. Me, A, and B. A had the day off already, but B and I were scheduled to work it. B had same contract as us. The company is a stickler for rules and procedures to the point if someone signs off their phone 20 seconds early, they want a meeting and action plan to stop this from happening again. Managers label the poor sod as an active avoider of work, and life is crap for a while. I told my manager that I didn't want to be in breach of my contract, so I wouldn't be in. She looked at me like I'd sprung an extra head and told me I was scheduled to work and I'd be considered AWOL if I didn't come in. I asked her what the outcome would be if I went outside my contract like they expected me to. She didn't like that either. The 2nd rolls around. B went in for his shift. I do not. We are salaried. No money was deducted from me, and when I went back after the Christmas break, not a single manager spoke to me about it. No one asked for a meeting. It was as if it never happened. I got a free day off. Happy days. A month later, I got an updated contract through the post with a slip asking me to sign and return it. Never did. Worked there another 4 years. Never worked January 2nd. And our last story. Boss's lazy daughter gets her comeuppance. When I was in my early 20s, I took a job in a call center doing tech support and warranty stuff for some big brand TV/DVD players. Like most jobs that I hated but needed at the time, I got this one because I'm bilingual. It was a relatively small operation. We were contracted. The call center staffed half a dozen people, and downstairs was a refurbishing line for the products we supported. I was, at varying intervals, one of 1 to 2 bilingual agents on staff. Enter Stacy. Stacy was the assistant manager of the call center. She was also the company owner's daughter. Let's call him Dick. Like I said, small operation. Stacy was a thorn in my effing side from day one. She was the archetypal boss's kid. She did sweet D all day, every day. We were all supposed to take calls. She did not. She had no management responsibilities and basically refused to touch her phone unless we were all on calls. And even then, she'd usually let them stew for 5 to 10 minutes in the hopes that someone else would end their call and pick it up. She even had the gall to hound us to grab the next call while she sat there gold-bricking. I would eventually learn from the actual manager, Max, who, by the way, took 3 times as many calls as Stacy, despite having actual responsibilities, that her promotion was an attempt to get her to do some GD work that backfired spectacularly. She did less work than ever once she got her new title. I tried talking to Max about it, as I developed quite a rapport with them and the other agents, and I knew they were all struggling with her behavior. He said he'd try to encourage her to pick up the slack, but he couldn't really do anything about it. He was hamstrung. We were all basically powerless to do anything. At a certain point, I found myself as the only bilingual agent there. Side note, the only other bilingual agent at the time was useless. All she did was confuse and piss off customers, and literally punched Max in the face when he fired her. Effing wild. After a particularly harrowing week of getting slammed while Stacy figuratively and literally kicked her feet up all day, one Monday I had enough. I turned my cell off and effed off for the day. Frankly, I hoped that'd be the end of my career there. The next day, I decided to pick up when they call. It was Max. I told Max I was done and why. He commiserated, but pleaded with me to reconsider. Eventually, he got Dick in line, and they managed to convince me to at least sit down and talk about it. Clearly, having literally no one to pick up the non-English cue was proving to be a challenge. The next day, I strolled in nice and late in the morning and went to speak to Dick. This will always be one of my favorite memories and a great personal victory. I sat down and let him have it with both barrels. I told him his daughter was lazy and irresponsible, her promotion was a joke, and that she was tanking the morale of everyone she worked with. I basically sat there for 10 minutes ranting at this man what a piece of crap his daughter is, and when I was done, the only thing he wanted to know was what it would take to get me back. I told him I wanted a raise from $12 an hour to $14 an hour, which was plenty decent at the time. And I wanted her to pick up the effing phone when it rings, same as the rest of us. He agreed. I told him I'd come back after lunch so he would have time to talk to her. When I returned, I looked over at Stacy in her little corner, phone to her ear. Satisfied, I went to my desk and got to work. I would later learn from Max that while I was gone, Dick had attempted to man the non-English queue himself, which apparently was pretty funny because he only spoke English. I'm not sure how he expected to just wing an entire GD language, but I was happy he'd made an attempt. Knowing he'd been forced to debase himself like that was the cherry on top. Stacy was far from perfect after that, but I'd successfully turned the tables on her. When she'd start to slack, I'd either ignore the calls until she picked up, the other agents knew what I was doing and would let it go too, or just straight up tell her something like, "We all just got off calls, you can take this one." It was heavenly. I was the only one who could speak to her like that, so I became a bit of a hero to the other agents, who were happy to have some relief from the phones and a less soul-crushing power dynamic at work. To me, the revenge was that Stacy not only had to accept that some random plebe could effectively order her around in her daddy's company, and she had to actually work for possibly the first time in her life, and she had to live with the fact that her daddy, rather than defending her in the face of my verbal onslaught, basically gave me a bonus for crapping all over her. After about a year, I decided I didn't want to live like this and went off to enroll in and drop out of college again. But man, I'll never forget that feeling. Daddy should have made daughter go to work for another company where she had no benefit from his influence. That would prepare her to survive independently far more than this did. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.